In the opening scene, we meet Teresa, a young woman on a woodland vacation who is startled when her friend, Caleb, shows up with a drone. Disappointed by the absence of their friends, Teresa heads inside their stay house to check on her ill sister, Jessica. When she approaches Jessica to get her permission to depart, she discovers her sister calmly dozing on the bed after taking anticonvulsants. While waiting for Jessica to wake up, she immerses herself in a horror novel, unaware of the eerie events to come. She is startled when she hears Jessica reciting a passage from the page that Teresa is reading, and then sees her sitting on the bed.
A child's face looking through the window.
Let me in. Let me in.
I pulled its wrist onto the broken...
Teresa yells at her to shut up, right when Jessica collapses. Her face is turning blue, and a strange liquid is oozing from her mouth. And then all of a sudden... Jessica violently tears off Teresa's hair along with her skin, and so Teresa finds her way back to Caleb, with Jessica relentlessly pursuing her. Jessica intentionally injures herself with Caleb's drone, and when Caleb sees his girlfriend fall, he dives into the water, only to meet a tragic fate at Jessica's hands. She then arises from the water, fully possessed by an ominous entity. The movie then shifts to one day earlier. We are introduced to Beth, a guitar technician, who is anxiously taking a pregnancy test and desperately hoping for a negative result. Unfortunately, the test turns out positive, prompting her to visit her sister, Ellie, to deal with this unexpected situation. However, things are not the way Beth had expected. Ellie informs her that the building she currently resides in is scheduled for demolition in a month, and she hasn't found a new place yet. Before revealing her pregnancy to Ellie, Beth encounters her nephew and nieces, Danny, Bridget, and Cassie. They share a chilling tale. Cassie tells Beth about her doll friend, Stephanie, who will protect her from the ghost of this building, which used to be a bank. When Beth distributes the gifts she brought, she learns that Ellie's husband left the family 2 months earlier, because he was unable to pay for the children's school expenses. The mother then asks Danny to take her car and get pizza with his sisters. Beth expresses her frustration, wondering why she wasn't informed about Ellie's husband, so Ellie reveals that she left her a message twice, but never heard back from her. Realizing her own fault, Beth apologizes for her negligence, and admits that her apology can't make up for the pain Ellie went through 2 months ago. After listening to the messages sent by Ellie, she feels distressed, but Ellie joins her and provides comfort, inquiring about what has been happening in her life lately. But before Beth can share anything, a powerful earthquake rattles the building, startling the sisters and the children who are returning home. The quake is so intense that it creates a hole in the parking lot, capturing Danny's attention. Intrigued, Danny explores the opening, hoping to discover something valuable. Bridget urges her brother to leave, reminding him of the potential for aftershocks, but Danny refuses to give up without finding something of worth. As he delves deeper into the forgotten bank, he comes across a collection of old phonograph records, along with a picture of 3 priests. While searching, he stumbles upon a shocking sight. He then discovers a cluster of crucifixes and coins suspended from chains. Beneath them lies a grave-like structure containing a storage bag, which shows mysterious movement. Danny cautiously opens the bag, which scatters the bugs inside and reveals a strange, demonic book that emanates a sense of danger. Meanwhile, Ellie's concern for her children's safety grows with each passing moment. Just as she prepares to go out in search of them, the kids arrive, allowing her to breathe a sigh of relief. Danny then suggests they could earn some extra money and assist their mother by selling the strange book, but Bridget believes that books like this get locked away for a reason. As Danny attempts to unlock the book's strange tooth-shaped lock, his fingers inadvertently bleed, and the blood is absorbed into the book, causing it to open. With each turned page, Danny is confronted with increasingly demonic imagery, filling terror in Bridget. Bridget urges Danny to return the book, but since Ellie won't let them out due to earthquake after effects, he is forced to wait until the next day. Danny then proceeds to play the phonograph record from 1923 he obtained from the bank. The voice of Father Marcus Littletone fills the room, revealing his recent discovery, a volume from the legendary Naturum de Monto, also known as the Book of the Dead. Father Marcus seeks church approval to translate the spiritual mysteries within the book, but his plea is rejected by the church members. On the other hand, Ellie, the mother, is currently taking the elevator downstairs to wash some clothes. Driven by curiosity, Danny proceeds to play the second phonograph record, discovering that 2 other priests had secretly joined Father Marcus in translating the book's intricate writings, the recitation of which claims to enable contact with supernatural forces. As Father Marcus begins reciting, his voice turns demonic. Filled with fear, Danny desperately tries to stop the recording, but finds his efforts in vain. The pages of the book suddenly flutter, as if an otherworldly entity is being unleashed into the realm of the living. Unfortunately, his unintended actions soon affect Ellie, who is unsuspectingly confronted by the demonic entity while going down in the elevator. The entity, still concealed, deliberately sabotages the elevator, and focuses its malevolent attention on Ellie. It unleashes terrifying noises, inflicting harm by snatching her earrings and delivering forceful punches to her face. The entity then wraps the elevator cord tightly around her neck and other limbs, rendering her immobile. As darkness engulfs the building due to a sudden blackout, Beth and the children are compelled to leave their room to search for Ellie. To their shock, they discover Ellie inside the apartment, engrossed in cooking eggs with the shells still intact. She eerily expresses her desire to tear open her kids and crawl inside them, so they can stay one happy family. Beth and the children are deeply disturbed by the threatening behavior they witness. But just as they try to process it, Ellie, in a manic state, vomits the same slimy liquid that Jessica did, but the real Ellie manages to regain control, desperately urging Beth to protect her babies before passing out. In a race against time, Beth and Danny decide to rush her to the hospital, but to their dismay, both the elevator and stairs are inaccessible, possibly due to the earthquake or the entity's influence. To make matters worse, they are further shattered when Ellie tragically passes away. They get help from Ellie's neighbor, Gabriel, and Mr. Fonda. Ellie's eyes eerily remain open despite Gabriel's attempts to close them. And with the network still down, they are unable to reach out for help. Suddenly, Gabriel realizes the building's fire escape ladder offers a potential escape route, but the only access point is room 82, which has been sealed for years. As Gabriel and Mr. Fonda attempt to open the locked door, Beth approaches Ellie with a heavy heart to have a final conversation with her. But then,
for everyone. Hey, Bethy Boo.
Beth is interrupted by the sound of her phone playing a message Ellie had sent earlier. It is a distressing plea for help, expressing that she is burning alive. To everyone's horror, Ellie regains consciousness, but her body is burning up. In a panicked attempt, Beth and Danny place Ellie in a water-filled tub to lower her body temperature, right when this happens. After witnessing her climb the wall and scream piercingly, they finally realize the unholy nature of what is happening to Ellie. The entity proclaims that Ellie is now consumed by maggots, and is now ready to attack them. Ellie, fueled by the entity's possession, manages to stab Beth with a broken glass, causing a severe injury. Bridget swiftly intervenes to protect her aunt, so the entity turns its attention towards her. She takes a tattoo pen to her face, and cuts her cheek, and as she tries to lick her wound, Danny courageously strikes Ellie with a chair, momentarily subduing her. But the break is short-lived, as Ellie quickly recovers, and at that moment, Gabriel enters the apartment, only to be confronted by the horrifying sight of the formerly deceased Ellie standing like a zombie. Confirming her gruesome appearance, Ellie launches a vicious attack, biting Gabriel's eye, and proceeding to assault the other neighbors. Seizing the opportunity, Beth shuts the door while Ellie relentlessly attacks and claims the lives of Gabriel, the children, and Mr. Fonda. Secured within the confines of the apartment, tension escalates between Bridget and Danny as she scolds him for stealing the book from the buried bank. Beth intervenes and advises them not to turn against each other in this dire situation. Recognizing the urgency, Danny leads Beth to his room to show her the book and the phonograph records. On the other hand, Bridget starts acting strangely when she ignores everything Cassie says, and instead walks up to the kitchen. Afterwards, Cassie becomes enticed by Ellie, who cunningly sings a lullaby in an attempt to lure her to the door. Bridget's wound worsens, with black matter oozing from her body's orifices, followed by a weird vomit of insects. Back to Cassie, Ellie manages to manipulate Cassie into opening the door, telling her that her dad has arrived to see them. Luckily, Beth and Danny intervene just in time, swiftly locking the door once again. But the danger persists as Beth witnesses Bridget succumb to complete possession by the demonic entity. She gets terrified seeing Bridget chewing on a wine glass and spits on her face, due to which she stumbles. Fleeing from Bridget's menacing pursuit, Beth sustains injuries, but resolves to fight back, wielding a spatula as a weapon, and a pan. Danny's appearance at the site draws Bridget's attention, and then Cassie instinctively defends herself with the sharp end of her broom, which she'd attached to her doll friend Stephanie. Bridget meets her demise as Cassie's impromptu strike proves fatal, causing her lifeless body to fall on the floor. After Danny ties up Bridget's body in her room, Beth instructs Danny and Cassie to wait outside Danny's room. She then listens to the third phonograph record to understand how to exorcise this demon. Within the recording, Father Marcus recounts the dreadful possession of his fellow priests, and here Beth learns that Father Marcus failed to exorcise the summoned demon from the dead book, and that his allies were all possessed. Father Marcus then set ablaze the woodshed that housed their corrupted forms, but they reveled amidst the flames, unaffected by destruction. As the recording nears its conclusion, Father Marcus reveals that he can only offer one piece of advice to those who listen: the evil beings can't be stopped, the only way to defeat the evil beings is to completely dismember their physical form. While Beth is engrossed in the audio, Bridget gets up and comes out of the room. Danny and Cassie are attacked by Bridget, but Danny manages to land a stab, and the invincible entity retaliates by piercing his arm. Amidst a torrent of blood, Bridget delivers a fatal blow to Danny's chest, before being engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, Ellie infiltrates the apartment through a vent, intent on harming Beth. However, Beth becomes aware of her presence, and swiftly counters by thrusting a screwdriver into her. As Beth is thrown out of the room, she is shocked to see Danny taking his last breath. The malevolent entity then seizes Beth, using its demonic powers to uncover her pregnancy. Before she can claim 2 lives, Cassie, hiding beneath the sofa, passes Beth a pair of scissors, which she uses to subdue Ellie. In a desperate bid to escape, Beth, accompanied by Cassie, flees the apartment. She attempts to break the door leading to the fire escape using a hammer, while we see that Ellie is alive and taking scissors out of her nose. Beth then takes Mr. Fonda's shotgun to destroy the door, right when Ellie shows up, but Beth manages to disable her by shooting her limbs, rendering her immobile. And then all of a sudden, the possessed Danny and Bridget approach their mother, their laughter echoing with madness. The other neighbors who have transformed into possessed entities are screaming that everyone will die by dawn. Unable to break through the door, Beth decides to take their chances with the elevator. However, what unfolds next surpasses their wildest imagination. As the children gruesomely tear their mother's body apart, the elevator ominously fills with blood. Beth attempts to escape through the vent, only to find it blocked by the entities. Ultimately, the weight of the elevator forces it downward, sparing Beth and Cassie from drowning in the red pond of blood. Racing towards the parking lot, Beth successfully starts the car, but finds it trapped in the concrete floor, allowing the entities to draw closer. To her astonishment, the demon has merged Ellie, Bridget, and Danny's bodies into one formidable entity, just as depicted in the book. Before the creature can take action, Beth and Cassie find a hiding spot, and make their way towards the roll-up door. In a race against time, Beth makes it to the other side, but Cassie is seized by the entity, and snatched away just before the door slams shut. Before the demon can murder Cassie with a chainsaw, Beth resolutely re-enters the parking lot by tearing down the door net. She saves Cassie by shooting at the creature, though in the process, she is knocked down to the ground, her belly on the verge of protecting her unborn child. The creature then activates a wood chipper, aiming to crush her to death. When Cassie sees this, she helps by shutting off the crusher to stop the killing attempt. It is at this point that Beth is able to turn the tables on the entity. She takes the chainsaw, and uses it to push the entity into the crusher, finally putting an end to its evil existence. After dispatching Ellie's head into the crusher, Beth gives Cassie a tight hug to make her feel better. Determined to heal her from the trauma and carry on the responsibilities a mother would, Ellie takes Cassie with her as they flee the building. On the following day, Jessica, the possessed girl we saw in the beginning of the film, leaves her apartment, which happens to be in the same building, though likely on a different floor. Unaware of the horrific events that have taken place, Jessica is getting ready to join Caleb and Teresa, while concentrating on calling her sister. After the call ends, her attention is immediately drawn to the blood-soaked car, and the parking lot drenched in crimson blood. Before she can comprehend the situation, the same evil entity approaches her and transforms her into its next victim, joining Ellie and the others. This revelation suggests that dismembering the bodies was not the right way to deal with the demonic forces, suggesting the need for a different approach to end the entities and destroy the Book of the Dead. And what happens next is already unveiled in the movie's opening scenes, except for poor Teresa's fate.